Hello, welcome
After
back
these messages.
to the Zero Strategy Podcast.
Hello.
I'm joined today by my co-hosts Grog Mode
Hello.
and Mediboy Eve.
Hello.
We have a lot. Well, I always like to say we have a lot to talk about, but in reality, I mean that's not always the case. But we have things to talk about. But thank you for joining us.
Words will be said today.
Words
Exactly.
will be said.
This is the place where we do the talking. Grog, how has your week been? What have you been up to?
Week's been pretty good. I've been continuing with mini motorways in Apex Legends. Continued to slowly solo queue my way up through the gold ranks in Apex, which has been fun. And I started. I played a lot of Frostpunk this week. For anyone who doesn't know Frostpunk, it's the same studio that was behind This War of Mine, which was an interesting sort of narrative storytelling game where it focused on like conflict in the Middle East, but it was told from like the civilian's perspective. It had nothing to do with combatants at all. So it was a war game that didn't have fighting. It was just about kind of the emotional fallout. And they made this game Frostpunk, which is kind of like a Victorian steampunk themed what if game of like, what if there was like a miniature ice age and like a cataclysmic volcanic event that like kind of clouded the sky in ash and like this basically put the sun out more or less, and the world went into like a frozen darkness. And you have to, it's like a city builder, but there's tons of moral quandaries. Like right now I'm on the cusp. I've just invented greenhouses so that we can sustain food so that hunters don't have to go out at night. Well, they still have to go out at night because I make them, but they grow food. But then we signed into law an order that any dead bodies we will turn into fertilizer and use in the hothouses. You can also enact child labor laws or not.
I watched Grog yell at a child because he had a minor incident in the kitchen.
I was going to refute that. I was going to refute that, but that did happen.
I voted for it. I voted, so you know.
It's been a fun game, I think, from a stream perspective, because as like with sort of like Sims or city builders or stuff where you can name characters, like basically everyone that's been a viewer in my channel or everyone here on the podcast has like a name. They're a named character with a specific task, like they're a person doing a thing. Like, for example, friend of the channel, Nixie, after we built a public house, he has spent every single night in that public house without fail. And sometimes he's even been in the public house when it's been closed. So it's interesting, like how it just like these narratives come out. It's a really fun game. I would definitely recommend it. And I think it won a BAFTA or two, and so it's been renewed for a second game, and it's going to be coming out, I think, sometime either like end of this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, it looks super cool.
I would recommend that to anyone who likes strategy games, but particularly like feels like a role-playing game. It feels more like it's like a strategy game meets RPG, because you don't have like character stats, but like you feel like you're really, I don't know. There's a lot of like stuff that's going on that feels more nuanced and developed as the story unfolds than just like, say, build X factory to get Y resources. Like there is a bit of that, but yeah, it's good.
It looks really good. It looks really fun. Eve, what about you?
Oh, streaming. What have I been streaming?
Dark Souls.
Tribes of Midgard. Dark Souls. Yeah, I tried Dark Souls. It was fun. I only died 25 times, kind of a professional at this point. And I feel like I've made some big like personal improvement since the last time I tried to play Dark Souls, which was off stream, because I got very, very mad at it. I still go like, fuck! But it's not like, fuck, and then I don't want to play this anymore. This is stupid, and it ruins my day. It's more like, that sucked. Okay, let's try it again. So, like, development.
Growth. There you go.
Yeah! So yeah, I've been playing that, Tribes of Midgard and The Ascent, which is still very fun, very fun. And
Yeah, I'm looking
Borderlands
forward
3.
to playing that.
Yeah, Borderlands 3 wasn't as fun because it decided not to give us any legendary loot last time, so we left and started playing other games to teach the game a lesson.
That'll show it.
Yeah, exactly.
You've also been back on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, I've been uploading a fuckload,
You really have.
a whole bunch, and they've been going pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The main thing I've learned about YouTube Shorts is just make a clickbait title, and you'll get views. That seems to be
I
the way to do
noticed
it.
that the title doesn't even really matter too
Okay,
much on
well-
YouTube Shorts.
Well, for me, I make crazy clickbait titles, and those are the videos that get views. The rest of them get none. So, and I feel like it's like not even that bad to clickbait because it's like a 30-second video, you know?
Yeah.
Like, who are you hurting by clickbaiting them? But
Well,
yeah,
it's good to know that the people don't matter to you. Hey, what have you been up to this week?
wow. Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately my charity stream thing got rescheduled because there was a bit of a miscommunication with dates and things, so that's now happening a week on Tuesday instead. But that's good because it gives me a bit more time to get everything set up for it. Other than that, a lot of ranked Apex. I did try and play Tribes of Midgard with you, Eve, but I had no idea what was going on. I spent 3 hours just picking up sticks, and then Grog convinced me to switch sides and actively try and hurt you and everyone else, which is what I did.
Well, really, you only hurt me because I was the only one in the village with you.
You were the only one that cared.
Yeah.
But you did have more fun instantly.
Oh, I did, absolutely. When I made the decision to try and just sandbag the team, had much more fun. Definitely enjoyed it more. But yeah, not much. I've been trying to do YouTube Shorts as well. I've been posting one a day, which I know it's not quite up to your level, Eve, of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 a day.
Yeah, pathetic. Get
I
good.
know. But yeah, the YouTube Shorts have been going really, really well. It's weird. I'm in a bit of a creative block with YouTube right now where I just don't know what to do. And like, so I had the whole idea for when we did our 24-hour stream. I did the 2 truths and a lie, but I just, every time I sit down to edit it, I'm like, this isn't going to make a good video. And I just kind of stop. But it's been nice to kind of have the other channel to just whack clips up to at least feel like I'm being productive. So that's been nice. But yeah, I've not done too much this week, honestly. It's just been very wake up, play Apex, go to bed.
Put on a little makeup.
You wanted to.
Yes, I don't think you trust. But yeah, I mean, it's been good. But I wanted to talk about a couple of I guess one of the quick things I wanted to talk about was to kind of go back and revisit the topic of like sponsorships again, because I've had some weird emails started to pop through a lot, and it's been quite interesting. So I recently partnered up with a new company, a new sponsorship and everything, and you know, I think that's good, and you know, it was something that I talked through with my moderators before I went through it. You know, I got advice from other creators, people I was friends with, and you know, spent a long time going through it and deciding, was this beneficial to me? Is this going to cost anything? Is this going to hurt me? Blah, blah, blah. I kind of went through all the pros and cons and went ahead with the partnership. But I've also been receiving some other very out of left field sponsor emails. And I kind of wanted to talk and kind of get your guys' thoughts on how that works. Because I'm seeing a lot of people just having tons of different sponsors all over the place. I was watching somebody today that was sponsored by like a mobile game, but they were playing Apex on their stream, and it, like, there's a lot. I feel like companies are starting to reach out more and more to streamers with weird offers. Like, without giving too much, I mean, I got an offer from a company that was effectively like, viewers would send their old tech to the company and then use my code, and then the company would give them money for like old phones, and if they use my code, then I would get money with it as well. And it all seemed very weird and a bit just out of left field.
But like, you only really were going to turn a profit if they were redeeming things to this company that were, say, $100 to $200+
Yeah, it was strange. And I just think, like, I had a look through it all, decided it wasn't really for me, and you know, had a chance to discuss it with mods and things. But I guarantee you that a lot of streamers would have got the same email and just went, yeah, I'll take it. It's a sponsorship. Sponsorships are like, they make me legit or whatever, right? So I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the allure of any sponsorship, if we just like walk back from like whatever they're selling, I think there is the allure that it lends credibility. This is a job, you get sponsored, somehow, this sponsorship then cements the idea that you're like, you can look at that as a mile marker for growth. However, I do think that a lot of these sponsorships, particularly from companies that are not household brands, or at least aren't household brands within the gaming industry, um, that they can be predatory, because it's like in regards to the cell phone, or it wasn't cell phone, but it was like, sell your old tech to us, a la GameStop, and we'll give you a cut of like basically a commission for everything that like comes through us. But it's like, but you're really only going to get a commission if they sell X amount of things. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you are free advertising for them.
Just like a
Because
lot of those affiliate programs, even like with household names, a lot of their affiliate programs are like that, where they're
The
just
Razor
using people
streamer
for
and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're just using people for free advertising.
yeah, you're basically a vehicle to get their word out, and the return that you get in exchange is next to nothing. Because I mean, honestly, you'd either have to have a couple whales, use the service and spend big money, and that's how you get a return on it, or you just never get a return. But I think that these companies often are aware. I mean, I think both the credible and the unscrupulous alike are very aware that streamers are, many people who especially are pursuant of sponsorships are looking for that validation. They're looking for that validation so that it reinforces their credibility, either at least on a personal level, or at least for their viewers, or even just for people they haven't met yet. It's something they can put in like a Twitter byline, etc. So I don't know. I think that sponsorships are something that should just be, um, you should really like be calculated and considerate about, like, I mean, are you doing this because it's another bullet point to add to a CV, or are you doing this because you firmly believe in the product, or are you just doing this because, I mean, just because?
Yeah.
I feel like it should be, I think you should always stand by the products that you're endorsing. Because if you endorse any product, whether you're making revenue off of it or not, and whether it's just free advertisement for the company, or you're actually like, it's a genuine partnership and you are benefiting from this interaction, like, you should stand by the product. Because if you don't, then I think that you're just being unscrupulous towards your viewers if you're hawking something that you've either never tried, you've never I mean, even if it's something you can't try, but it's like something that you've never researched, or something that you don't like even believe in, why are you doing it?
Exactly. I see all these. One I used to see was a bunch of streamers that would be sponsored by like these. They were like grips for your controllers. I can't remember what they were called, but they would go on like your thumbsticks, and it would be all these streamers that all use
Control freaks.
Stuff effectively. Yeah, Control Freaks or other companies that do the same. And you've got to realize that a lot of these companies are just going to sponsor everyone, as many as they can, because it's free advertising. And I don't have a lot of experience with sponsorships. I think I can probably talk about like GamerSups, which is a company I was sponsored by. It was a product I already liked and enjoyed, and to be honest, I did make some money from that because people were using my code to buy the product. But it was something that I was happy to say, hey, I think this is good, and consider trying it. You might like it, right? And it's not like an insane amount of money. And I ended up, leaving that partnership for other reasons because of the company and things that went down. But I mean, so since then, I have we just announced this new partnership, and I'm kind of going into this one with it's a PC building company, and I like to think I did my research on it. I haven't personally had a PC built by them, but I trust a lot of people that I do know that are partnered with them that have all given me great feedback. And it was kind of a, this pros and cons list, right? And I'm going, well, I'm not going to try and shill people in my chat to go and buy a $2,000 PC, right? obviously that's like asking a lot of your viewers, right? But
You need to shill to get them to gift you 100 subs.
exactly, right? But like
That's how you make the real money.
it's one of those things where you kind of have to weigh up the pros and cons and decide, okay, but there's other things that might come into play with it, and weigh it all up, and ultimately you make that decision. But there's a lot going around, because I think companies are, like you say, starting to be more aware that streamers are free advertising for a lot of it, and lot of these brands will require you to spend money as well, because there's a lot of them, they'll say, well, in order to be partnered with us, you just have to go to our website and make a purchase of X amount of dollars or more, and then we'll give you a code and you can make money. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna spend more money than you're gonna make with these things. So be careful. Don't just rush into things, is kind of the thing I want to go through, because particularly I think smaller creators that are just getting started are gonna be, for lack of a better term, more vulnerable to some predatory companies.
Sure.
Not to say there's not good ones out there. I do think there's good ones out there. There's good opportunities out there. And just be wary, I think, is the main thing, because I've seen a lot of people get sucked in by the idea of like, oh, I'll be sponsored and that will make me somehow more legit. I feel like it's a lot of the same way, where people are very keen to just get into a stream team because it's validation. But like, you as a streamer, if you're looking at it as I want to make this a career, like, you're self-employed, it's your business. You don't need other brands to legitimize you. Does that make sense?
Well, I agree.
Don't jump into it just for that sake, because we've all had experience with that, and it doesn't exactly go great. So if you're going to go into one, make sure that it's because you want to, not just
Well, because at the end of the day, if you look at it from one perspective, if for those individuals out there who are pursuant of trying to get these sponsorships because they feel like it will legitimize their channel, it will validate their experience as someone who is trying to do this, professionally or semi-professionally, it's what's the outcome going to be? You're going to have maybe a lower third ad that pops up every so often on your stream. Maybe you have an information panel on your page, what have you. But like, if you're repping a brand that, and I'm not saying this as like you should only try and get sponsored by Logitech. Do you know what I mean? Like, you should only get sponsored by Acer, like big companies.
I don't even use Logitech.
But if you get sponsored by a company, and it is not a company that your viewer base cares about or knows about, and really, unless it's something that you yourself are passionate about endorsing, then like they'll say, oh, he is sponsored by such and such drinks company, or he's sponsored by such and such mouse pad company. I don't need a mouse pad, or I don't need, like, that's cool. Like, that's cool that you do the thing, but like, it doesn't, unless you're already like reaching out to an audience that is in need of that thing. And also people are less likely to put blind faith into a product that they themselves don't really know, that doesn't have recognition. So like, think about it. Who are you catering to? At best, you're catering to your loyal viewers who know you well and you have earned their trust. So you're leveraging your trust with those dedicated viewers to then double down on this product that they've never heard before, right? They don't know about XYZ mousepad company, or XYZ drinks company. But if you were sponsored by, like, I don't know, Acer or something like that, people be like, oh shit, I know that company. And that's why I think even companies like Razer or like Razer Streamer, where it's like Razer is a company that is well known within the gaming community, and to get affiliate sponsored, whatever the fucking title is for them, that is a company that knows what it's doing, because they are just getting free advertising, because they are a household brand. They will tap into that the fact that they are a known quantity, and so it doesn't really take much on behalf of the streamer to sell it.
Here's the thing with Razer, which I think a lot of people don't put together, or certainly. So I looked into the Razer streamer thing when it first got announced because I wanted to read up on it. And to be a Razer streamer, you just had to have like, you had to have stuff in your chat, or you had to have hashtag Razer streamer in your title or something. And they sort of dangled this thing of, we might host or raid people with that hashtag, and maybe once every few months we pick someone and they win a prize. But the main thing of being a Razer streamer was you got a discount on buying products. But like, Razer knows that a big part of their target demographic for customers are streamers, right? So what they're just doing is just offering this discount to any streamer, really, which is just sales for them, as well as that free advertising as well. So they're really, because I think the thought when you're being sponsored by a company is that you're advertising to your audience, but really you're the audience in that case from Razer. They want you to buy shit, So it's interesting. The reason I kind of brought it up was I had a message from somebody recently who just recently got affiliated. They were excited about it, but they kind of said, look, what do I do now? Where do I go? What's next? Right? Because, I'm affiliated now, and they almost had this sense of, now that I'm affiliated, I need to do stuff. I need to improve my stream. I need to improve this. I need to do that. Blah, 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 blah. Where do I start? Right? And that was kind of a tough question for me because I didn't really know how to answer that. Like, what would you... So, ignoring the sponsorship thing for now, right? What would you have said to that if someone said, look, I've just got affiliated right now? I mean, I think they said, I stream from a console with a laptop, but I want to take my stream to the next level. What do I do?
I mean, I would say they work on your socials at that point. Work on things, work on other platforms, as we've talked about on the show.
YouTube Shorts.
Anything that will expand your outreach beyond the platform, your primary platform, is helpful. I mean, low key, first off, just tell your friends and family about it. If it's something that you're not embarrassed to share with, people in your life, tell those people about it. Tell them you're excited about it. Tell them when you're streaming. Tell them, because they might show up in your chat. They would be early, easy supporters of you. I mean, Aunt Edna may not be like a hardcore Overwatch viewer, but she might tell
you sure
someone
hit a crispy snipe.
in passing that their niece or nephew does streaming, and somebody's like, I mean, there's so many instances where I have been somewhere, pre-COVID, you're just at a party, or you're just out and about, and somebody says, oh yeah, I've got a friend who works at such and such, and you're like, oh, like that piques a personal interest with you. Like, they mention a friend who's a tattoo artist, and you're like, oh, where do they work? And then you look them up on Instagram, and then maybe you're like, oh shit, their work is really dope. Like, I want to get something done by them. Like, those things really do happen. That kind of word of mouth networking is tried, true, and traditional. Start with friends and family. Tell them what you're about.
I'm gonna pay for a local TV ad.
I was just thinking about paying for a bus.
Find a billboard.
Bus ad.
Find a billboard. Yeah.
I'm gonna pay for a bus in a different city.
That'd be an interesting one. I'd like to actually look at that. Like, if you even have a moderate sized audience on YouTube, because I think that would make a banger video, right? Paying for bus advertisements, right? So you get all the stuff designed, you get it put on the side of a bus for however much period of time, and then look at your stats to see if it makes an impact. There's a cost analysis there that needs to be looked at.
Here's an even better idea. What is the legal ramifications of just putting your own advertisements on a bus?
Just while they're stopped at traffic lights.
Even more interesting video.
A la vandalism?
Yeah. I mean, maybe cost reward, let me check. I'm gonna check.
What I can say is, in the city of Philadelphia, there's actually a local municipal law against bandit signs. They're called bandit signs because basically it'll be like, we buy houses, cash on hand, or like advertising, whatever. And it basically is usually some sort of corrugated plastic boarding that they've gone to a print shop, and they just take a staple gun and a ladder and they go out and they put it like 9 feet up so you can't like pull it down, and they just put it on telephone poles.
So
It's
it is
all over
illegal
the
in
city.
Colorado as well. Okay, well, what's the fine for it? Because
Well,
if
that's
the
the thing.
fine is less than it costs to advertise on a bus,
This is not
I mean,
official
and that's-
advice, by the way, for the podcast.
No,
fuck
definitely
it,
not
whatever.
official
Do what you
advice.
want. Fuck the system.
But it's like do any of those? I see them all the time when I'm driving in the city. They're everywhere. A lot of them are for buying cars or houses, cash, no questions asked, that kind of thing. And it's usually, like people who are probably don't have a lot of scruples, and they're really just trying to like flip a house. They're buying it on the cheap. They're gonna use the flimsiest materials possible, and they're gonna flip it. But the thing is that like I drive past these and I think like, does anyone really fucking call these numbers? I mean, like some of them are just, paint pen, on a sign that's like nailed up to a fucking telephone pole. That just doesn't seem, trustworthy. But I mean, like, I guess people go for it.
I do
Oh my God,
think that
Inflatable displays are only a $30 fee.
all right.
Fine.
Like,
Okay.
I do
In Colorado,
think
yeah,
it's-
I'm just start putting inflatable signs everywhere.
I think it's interesting, and I do think it would be a really fun experiment and lead to a decent YouTube video of taking old school advertising and applying it to today's media with Twitch streams. The other thought I had was just getting a bumper sticker that says "How's my driving?" and then my Twitch link underneath, and then just driving around cutting people off.
Yes.
Just to see
It's
the
a
reaction.
$30 permit, not a fine. Oh, okay. Fuck buses. What if
Yeah.
okay, what if new hypothetical. You have a series of signs that you have permits for that accidentally get attached to a passing bus through a series of like strings and
grappling
levers.
hooks and
Yeah.
Double-sided
They
tape.
can't prove that
Plungers.
you did it. It was a weird act of vandalism from somebody else for your paid for permit signs.
Mm.
And then they just somehow got welded to the side of the bus.
Well, can I also just point out, and again, this
Well,
falls into the category of we do not endorse, please don't do this.
Do it.
Is like, does anyone remember? I mean, in the early 2000s, street teams were a big deal. You would join a street team for a company, and street team was basically like you would maybe get a discount code that you could use for like either whatever the merchandise it was, be it clothing, drinks, skateboards, what have you. And a lot of these street teams were basically, they would send you an envelope full of stickers, vinyl stickers, and they would maybe give you a code for something, or maybe they would send you something small that's free. And in exchange for that, you were just to fucking slam those everywhere, on the subway, on stop signs,
It's
you
like
name
that
it.
Rise Against video.
Like, and also there was a lot of these street team campaigns were done by major companies, Adidas. Like I would walk around Philly and there'd be stencils spray painted on the sidewalk of for this company or that company. And it's like that stuff. When I worked at the library, that happened. People like Eve's not calling it vandalism, but they advertised on the side of our library.
Advanced advertisement.
Aggressive marketing. They aggressively
aggressive
marketed.
marketing.
They aggressively marketed the release of their new album on the side of our 112-year-old library. I wasn't really pleased about having to deal with that act of advertising. But I mean, like, yeah, I think actually, even though Condi's made that joke about like how's my driving and putting your Twitch link on there, like that kind of shit's
Joke?
actually funny. Like I think that would be joke. Oh, sorry, it wasn't a joke.
It's a serious idea.
I actually think that's kind of super clever. I mean, like, because think about like how often at least I have seen like Reddit pages for various like video game franchises. And like somebody will post a funny picture under one of those where it's like, especially it was big with Destiny, where like people would take a picture at a stoplight and they would be like, I found a fellow warlock out there, and like it's because somebody had some window decal, on their car indicating such and such. Like people who are in the know get excited about that kind of shit. When you see like the random out in the wild that has their Moments of Triumph shirt on, and you're like, hey, like you're too Moments of Triumph, like nice.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff does actually lead to conversation sometimes. Like I was at the fucking pharmacy picking up medication for my wife.
My
And,
wife.
I was wearing a Destiny t-shirt and guys like, so what's your main? You play Hunter or and like he was just ringing me up at the register. But then we got to talking about it. It was just me and the pharmacist shooting shit about Destiny at the time. So that kind of thing I think can be a conversation starter, even though it seems like a very low effort kind of way to get the stuff out there. But to circle back to Candy's question, you've hit affiliate. What should you do? Beyond telling your friends and family and the people you care about that you're excited about this new opportunity for yourself, get on your socials and work your socials like we've talked about,
And invest in a t-shirt gun.
YouTube Shorts, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And a t-shirt gun. And just indiscriminately fire it out of the bus as the bus drives around the city. Buses, I think, are really
fire it into the bus.
I think buses are really the strong backbone of a good advertising campaign.
I think there's a built-in series of YouTube videos here. Like I'll start out door to door, right? Let's go people's doors, knock on the door. Hey,
suit, tie, briefcase.
Hand out leaflets, right? The other one, I'll stand in the middle of a city center with a clipboard and just harass people.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Candy Fly?
Twitch.television, yes. Like, there's you just work your way up, right? And it ends with like buses and like billboards. It's $1 million idea. Telling you make that into a YouTube series. It's gonna cost a lot of upfront investment.
How much does it cost to do a billboard in Colorado?
It might backfire, but I honestly, if I had the capital, I'd 100% make that video. That'd be so funny.
Just find like some sort of like like GoPro cam Russian parkour building climber dude to like go up and like drop a banner off of a building for you. They get content for their crazy YouTube channel, you get content for your Twitch channel,
or I can climb the building myself.
Yeah.
$1,000 to $5,000 a month in Colorado for a general billboard advertisement.
Yeah, but at a prime intersection,
seems worth it.
Probably not.
I'm just thinking of The Office when Andy gets all the billboards put up and they all get vandalized. I'm just imagining that. But yeah, I think that's. I really think there's something there. I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously, we all know, self-promotion on Twitch and things is like it's a big no-no, and it's hard to advertise your stream. I think nowadays, because so many people are making content, obviously Reddit's big against self-promotion. You can't really self-promote in chat. I've like just out of curiosity joined a couple of like Facebook groups, and there was one I joined that was meant to just be like, hey, this is just for people to talk about Twitch, and I was like, this sounds interesting. The whole thing is just, hey guys, I'm live, come and check out my stream, follow for follow, follow for follow, follow for follow. It's all rubbish, right? And the best way to kind of advertise your stream, frustratingly, is kind of by not advertising it and just taking clips or making content or making videos to try and drive people to you. But I feel like there's something there. There's some way to advertise that people haven't thought of that would work.
How they do timeshares for like properties? So, okay, we all invest in a property that we can do a timeshare on. And then when we do our spiel at the end, instead of saying, hey, this is how you invest in this, it's like, hey, have you gone to our Twitch?
Exactly.
And they're trapped there for an hour. They have to listen to us. We can show them clip highlights.
It's like a retreat as well.
Yeah.
We have to bust out the Zero Strategy credit card and get to work on that.
For a second, I thought you were going to say we all just split a third of a billboard. We split the cost.
Yeah.
And then just like do 3 sections of a billboard. One billboard, but 3 advertisements.
Have you ever been stuck in one of those timeshare things, though?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
That's the only vacation that Ezra and I have ever been on. It was up to Breckenridge, Colorado. It was very nice. Everything was lovely. It was completely paid for. And they're like, "We just have to you have to look at our stuff at the end." It's like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And we go there and they're talking to us. It's like, "So, do you have interest in this?" It's like, "Honestly, no. We just came here for the free stuff." They're like, "Okay, well, I'm going to still do my spiel." And then like by the end of it, they seemed to be actually pissed that we legitimately only went there for free stuff and we're not going to buy anything.
That blows my
It's
mind.
like, I was upfront with you the whole time. You didn't
Lauren
have to
and
do the
I,
spiel.
Lauren and I did that for free airline tickets.
It's worth it.
It was
I
awful.
think it.
No, it was.
Oh,
It
I
was
think it
not.
was
It's not
absolutely.
worth it.
We had 3 days completely paid for, and we just had to sit through an hour.
Oh no, this
It
is
was
like
nice.
4 hours. 4 hours at like a strip mall. Like,
Oh, gross. Yeah, no, that's not worth it.
no.
You got bamboozled.
Free airline tickets though.
How much were the airline tickets otherwise?
We didn't. You had to jump through hoops to even get the tickets. We ended up.
Well,
It was
like
just a waste of our time. The whole thing was a waste of
I
our
was gonna
time.
say, like, if you compare your hourly wage at the time to how much the tickets were, it could have been worth your time. Like, oh, I wouldn't have made this much, working.
I'm going to
So
stop
the
you there,
tickets
Eve,
paid
and I'm
for.
going to agree with my wife in that today's
Now laugh.
episode really is off the rails.
Yeah. We don't really have topics today, so that's how it has to go.
I like it. It's fine. We're just vibing, you know.
I think that, like, think about how, think about like a band that, the people who are doing this, like they do, like mini tours, or they're releasing their own album, like self-published material. Like, how do those folks advertise? I mean, again, it's friends, it's word of mouth, it's making, it's making inroads on the internet with social media hubs. I think for anyone who's genuinely pursuant of trying to grow, you just really have to think about, like, why. I mean, beyond the monetary gain, like, why do you want people to come to your channel? What is it that you feel strongly about sharing about yourself, and what do you think you do well, and really, like, focus on that. So I mean, is chat interaction your thing? Is like top quality, like S tier gameplay your thing? Like, what is it? Is it, are you an artist or a musician and you're showcasing that other talent through this medium of live stream? Like, why are you so interested in growth, and what do you find most compelling about your own streams? And then just leverage that.
Absolutely.
And find new ways to do it, because, like, there's eventually, if you just, and also take a page from what other people are doing, like, canvas the room, figure out what space are you occupying with other people also on the platform. Like, some of the most standout people that I've seen that do stuff on Twitch that isn't gaming related, are people. There's plenty of people who do arts and music on Twitch, but you can find tons and tons of channels where people just do cover songs, and then you can find tons of channels where people just only do original music. And think about, like, which one of those is maybe more compelling. I mean, if you can go to multiple channels and find multiple people playing guitar and they're all just doing requests and cover songs from chat, that doesn't, unless there's something else about their stream that really makes them stand out, that's going to be a harder sell, or maybe a steeper hill to climb, than, say, someone who is only composing original music live, on stream. Because people find that interesting, and it does set you apart. Nobody's doing what you're doing but you. And in terms of, like, using the medium and leveraging the technology, like, there's a channel called Tom Draws, and it's interesting because the stream is this guy with, like, a drawing tablet and his monitor and a camera. I mean, he's basically, he's got a backdrop, he's in his office, and, like, he's streaming, he's talking to chat. But then what it also comes down to is he's done all this behind the scenes rigging with a like a digital character that, when he moves his tablet, moves his cursor, it moves like this, like imaginary arm and pencil for this cartoon, this caricature. So he has a character that he created for his stream, and that character is the one doing the drawing. It's really this guy Tom, but like as he talks, like the character talks. So like he's utilized like face capture technology, and he has like a very complicated stream deck where basically he's a puppeteer and he's puppeteering this character doing drawing. And so like he's, like that's to me, in my mind, this guy's doing original artwork on stream, but what sets him apart for me is like he's come up with something really novel. Not everyone's going to be able to come up with that, like $1 million idea, but you should try to find out what excites you, and just think about what is the same thing that excites you, what excites your viewers, and if so, that makes your job easy or easier. And if what excites you doesn't excite your viewers, then maybe you just need to kind of condition the channel better so that you can really like kind of get that energy across in a different way.
I find it really interesting that you mentioned, like, going back a little bit from what you said, you mentioned like bands and like how bands and music artists at a very grassroots small level like promote themselves. It's probably something that Eve's got a lot of experience with as well, but I remember like back in the day that was like a big thing, like and you'd have bands that would put their stickers everywhere. I mean, my local town's still covered in stickers from like local bands and stuff. But one thing I remember vividly from back then was that, obviously the whole thing was social media, and this was my first time really digging into social media when I was making music and trying to get people to like the page on Facebook and click the links to go and stream the songs and things. And one of the big things I remember was another band that we were friends with that made sort of similar music, released an EP, and it did very, very well. A lot of people listened to it, a lot of people checked them out, and they had this period of hype where they had a lot of people come to their shows and they were doing great. And we released an EP and we did all we could to market it, and it just we didn't get that same level. And we spoke to them and they said, and I will always remember what they said. They said, it does not matter how much work you put in to promote it. If you release music without having a PR company helping you, you're wasting your time. And we looked into it, and there's like, I mean, it's maybe different now. This is, God, 10, 15 years ago now. But local bands that we knew used to hire PR companies when they were releasing music. And these PR companies would put all this work to get them into magazines, and they would work to get their videos put on like Kerrang. If you remember Kerrang, it used to be on the TV. I don't even know if it still is. And they were extremely expensive, but they would help signal boost that quite a bit. And I remember really thinking that the vast difference between a band trying to do it by themselves and just forking out the money to get this PR firm to actually do that job, because they obviously have their contacts and they know what they're doing. I think something like that doesn't work for Twitch,
There are companies like that for streamers, but I don't know the margins for how much it costs.
I feel like that
there are.
Yeah, I think at the more top end, these PR companies that help you get deals and sponsors and
that are very specific for live stream content.
Yeah,
there's a couple in Europe and there's a few in North America. It's the equivalent of like if like joining a stream team is like the grassroots, like throwing your sticker up in the bathroom stall, the local pub. Like these companies are the equivalent of what Connie's talking about as like professional organizations that basically are reps for you. You pay into it, and then they have an umbrella of services that they can kind of hook you up with. I just don't know the margins on that because I think it is because it's still a Wild West, at least as it pertains to live streaming. Those companies like are a little opaque about like what the pricing is, because I'm sure it differs very much from person to person and what level of service they offer.
To kind of look back at like the marketing side of it, there's obviously, I would almost say, the sort of bottom level, the place to start. It is somewhat easy to pay to promote a post on Twitter or Facebook, or even, I don't know if you saw TikTok now does that as well. I got a thing on TikTok the other day saying like, hey, you can pay to promote this post. And I looked at it. I went as far in the process as I could to see kind of how expensive it's going to be. Like it costs a fair bit of money. It's not cheap. But you can, I haven't really ever done it. I think I promoted some posts on Facebook.
I see the promotions all the time from other people.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be, because I'd get a post that's like spaghetti, 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 spaghetti. It's like, this is a sponsored post. Like, what the fuck is going on now?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I used to see them a lot on, and I don't use Facebook a lot. I have Facebook and I scroll through it every so often. I don't post anything on there. I used to get
only for arguing with boomers.
Yes, yeah, I know, Eve. I see it all. But I see posts come up from every now and then. They're sponsored, but to me, they never have a lot of interactions. Right? They're pushed to my feed, and it's always somebody. And I'm trying to think of the nicest way to put this. It's like the most low effort post. They've got one of those like profile pictures or icons. You know, the one where there's like a cartoon version of them, or maybe it's an animal, and it has their name and text written over it, and they're like the most, the super generic gaming logos. And it's that, yeah. And it says, "Hey guys,"
like a high school sports team.
Exactly. And it says, I stream Call of Duty. Come by and say hi. And then just a link to the channel. And I always see these promoted. And there was one I remember that got pushed into my feed every day for like 2 weeks. And it had one like and one comment. And it was somebody just saying, "Follow my stream," and their link in the comment. And I think to boost that post, because as far as Facebook is concerned, I am that target audience, because Facebook knows I look at Twitch. Facebook knows I watch Twitch, right? So they're like, well, this person's perfect to push this post to. But obviously I have no interest in that. And it's so hard, because I think particularly with Facebook, people that are interested in Twitch on Facebook, I'm going to probably say are mostly other creators. And I think, like we mentioned with Hover a while ago, it's difficult to grow a stream by promoting to other people that also are trying to stream. The reason that we were saying Hover is maybe not off to the best start is because it's all just other streamers that are there. So you're just showing, and I mean, there's something to be said for that. It's not the worst thing, because I mean, I would say most of the people that are in my chat every day are also streamers. Most of the people that watch our podcast here in chat are also streamers, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very difficult, and I feel like there's no way paying for these sponsored posts on social media are actually paying off. And I wonder if there's a right way to do it. And I almost want to experiment with it and do a post on TikTok versus a post on Facebook and see where the interaction leads, and kind of just play around with it just to see. But the TikTok one, it was weird, because it literally made me choose, like, what's your objective with this campaign? Do you want to get more views? Do you want to get more clicks on your website? Do you want to get more likes? Like, and and I don't know what their difference of marketing strategy is based on those options. But I'm kind of curious to test out TikTok's one. Although anytime I see an ad on TikTok, I immediately skip it. But I'm curious how that works.
I also think that at the end of the day, you have to consider what subject matter are you using for the advertisement itself, right? Because in the context of Kanye's example of someone who, it's their logo and maybe a little flat 2D static banner of some graphic that goes with their channel and saying, "Hey, come check me out on Twitch," you are not offering any example or sample of like what you do. Whereas like something like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, like those things, I mean, that's why photographers were so big into Instagram. That's why so many of these like lifestyle brand, lifestyle coach kind of influencer people are big, on things like Instagram, because they're showing a direct sample of what they're offering, right? Like in regards to TikTok or YouTube Shorts, it's great for streamers because you can put up a 30-second to minute-long clip of your gameplay. And that gameplay is either going to showcase either your skill, your humor, your creativity, whatever it may be. You're imbuing a piece of what you're offering from that live experience to a potential viewer, to a prospective viewer. But like, I feel like a bus advertisement, you see bus advertisements, often maybe for a restaurant, and maybe it like will showcase like a very artfully taken photo of food. Then you're like, oh, that fucking looks really good, or like here in the city, I often think of like, I see adverts for like the Philadelphia Art Museum, and there'll be like an exhibit that's coming, right? But like they'll show you work of what you can expect to see. Like it is the promise and potential of what you can expect to find when you go out of your way to follow up with the ad. I think advertisements where like a band sticker where it's just your band's name in a really cool font that you slap up there does fuck all.
Or if it's
like
a metal
it
band
because
where you can't read it.
there's
words there, but just that you can't read it because
it does fuck all, because it's like it might be a cool logo, and that's all that it is. It gives you no impression of what it is. And I think you have to consider whatever your means of outreach, that what you are putting forth should in some way give people an inkling or a taste of what they can expect when they come to your channel, even if it is something funny. Like if Condi had "How's my driving," please call, and then it's just a link to Twitch instead of a phone number. Like it says two things. I think that idea is brilliant for a couple reasons. One, it showcases that he has a sense of humor. He's self-aware about like sort of like the cultural zeitgeist of like these "how are my driving" stickers. So like he's riffing on something. Like he's taking the piss out of these stickers. At the same time, he's demonstrating his sense of humor. And for people who are already in the know, who might recognize the Twitch logo, like I would probably not put like the Condi Fly logo. Like I would just straight up, put like a variant of like the Twitch logo or something, and then make the bumper sticker purple, and then have your Twitch link. Like
I'm
because
totally
people
doing
who
this. Totally
like
doing this.
that would be fucking smart, because it's like what is he selling in that moment? He's selling the comedy. He's selling the humor. That's his example. That's the buy-in. So, but we have a comment in chat. Advertising isn't the thing you should start with. You need to start by making sure your value proposition is something that people like and are willing to pay for. And I yeah, 100%. If you have a channel that is poor production value for audio, poor production value for video, poor production value for your accompanying graphics, you're not comfortable talking to chat. If you get anxious and nervous, like when you get a raid, like all of those things are going to be impediments that are going to hold you back from growth. And some of that is just going to be like growing pains that come with practice. You're only going to get over that and improve by way of experience and kind of working your way through it. So I think that focusing on what you do and what you do well, and trying to continue to refine that and do it better, and think about like do that comparative research of how you stand out in the marketplace, like improve your core product first, and then worry about like the advertising later. But what you can do in the interim are very low effort things, like make clips. The thing that I'm going to do after the podcast is every week I have a day or two where I have a button on my Stream Deck and I press it, and every time something either really funny or amazing happens or notable, I hit that button. It leaves a little mark on my timeline for that VOD. I go back through all my VODs of the week, and I don't have to scrub through them. I don't have to rewatch them. I just jump straight to that marker, and then I maybe cut back and forth a couple minutes just to see like where the sweet spot is, and I cut all my clips. And that content then becomes TikTok and YouTube and stuff that gets shared on my Discord and stuff that makes it into channel trailers and things like that. Like that content was already on my channel. I just needed to archive it and then repackage it and repurpose it.
Yep. Reusing the content's huge, absolutely huge. I think like when it comes down to it, I think a lot of people nowadays that are on Twitch or are YouTube viewers are quite switched on when it comes to ads, right? And a lot of times, I know for me, again, if I see an ad, I'm not going to click on it most of the time If I see it on TikTok, I'm going to skip right past it, whatever, right? I think people are kind of aware of that. I think what Grog is saying is absolutely right. Make the most of those little moments, because you know what? Even if you finish the stream and think, oh, well, maybe it wasn't the best stream today, if you got 1 or 2 good clips out of it, throw them up online, because you never know what could happen. Something could still come of that. Those could still do good views. So as long as you're doing something with that content, in my mind, the most wasteful thing you can do with your time is to do an 8-hour stream and then not use any of that content to promote yourself elsewhere, because at the end of the day, that's what those are. One of the tips that I heard a long time ago was that, you know, you make YouTube videos and you make clips and you think of those as employees that are out there working for you, promoting you, and you know, the to give yourself the best chance possible, you should be taking those things and trying to do as much as you can with the content you've already made. You've made that content, it's there, so show it to as many people as you can. You know, I always think that making clips, and, you know, particularly if you can learn to edit your clips for like a vertical format, right, which all 3 of us do, then they can go great on TikTok. But also, you can post them on YouTube and YouTube Shorts. It takes 2 extra seconds to just upload that to YouTube instead. You know, like we said at the start, Eve's posting 3 a day. I'm doing 1 a day on YouTube Shorts, and some of the views are coming in are insane. I mean, it's really good, and you should be doing it. And like I say, then that way, even if, well, okay, I streamed for 8 hours today and oh well, my follower count went down from when I started, and maybe you're feeling a bit down about that, because we all have those days, but at least you've got some other content to then go out there and promote, which might help you in future streams. To go right back to the start, which was the, you know, I've just made affiliate, what do I do now, which is something we have talked about before. My advice that I gave to this person at the time was just baby steps. There is no need to suddenly, now that you're affiliate, I'm going to go out, I'm going to spend thousands and I'm going to buy all this equipment and do that. That is, I mean, if you want to do that, then absolutely. I'm not going to tell you that's wrong, but there's no obligation or need to do that. I think small improvements, you know, watch back your stream. What could be better? What is that one thing I could do today that will make next stream a little bit better? And just do that.
I was going to say the same thing. Watch your own content.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you do an 8-hour stream, you don't have to watch the whole 8 hours. But like, you know, if you watch your first 20 minutes of just chatting, your first 20 minutes of easing into the stream and chat interaction. Watch, if you were playing a game that is remotely competitive, watch a segment of that. Watch maybe 40 minutes of you playing. You know, what was your posture like? What's the lighting like? How's the audio? Is the music too soft? Like, literally just take a notepad and sit there and bullet point out, like, be critical, and not as like, oh, I hate my voice, or I hate the way that shirt makes me look, or, you know, like whatever. You know, it's easy to be critical of ourselves in a way that is not constructive, but put your constructive critical thinking hat on and really take a hard look objectively at what would you notice if you were an impartial viewer. What would stand out to you if this is like a focus group? You know, their microphone is way too hot, it's clipping. Whenever they speak, their teammates are just as loud as them. I can't hear the streamer for want of people in the background. You know, that kind of stuff. And then look into solutions. Just Google solutions of like, how do I get myself to sound better in the mix? How do I do this or that? You know, like, and also watch other people's content the same way. So if there's someone whose channel you admire, I'm not saying go and like steal their overlay, you know, or steal their artwork.
Overlay.
Steal their identity, become them.
Yeah, kill Tim the Tat Man, become Tim the Tat Man. I already have the dent in my head, so that's problem solved. I'm halfway there. I think though that like, look at the people that you like. Why do you like them? Is it because they have good banter? Is it because they are skillful at what they play? Is it because their artwork's amazing? Is it all of the above? And then think about like, well, if it is all of the above, where can you start most simply? Chances are it's going to be something to do with tweaking settings for your stream. It's going to be adjusting the bitrate quality of your stream. It's going to be adjusting your audio. The audio is the fucking devil, and you'll spend the rest of your life from now until forever trying to perfect audio because it's just so fickle. But like, get good audio, and you don't need a crazy, like, you don't need anything more than like a $70 microphone, like, to get good audio. But there's lots of processing that you can add. There's lots of things that you can do. And the thing is that, ironically, the bit that's going to be your friend here is places like YouTube, where other content creators have made it their job to make videos for, Adobe Suite, for After Effects, for Premiere, for OBS, for you name it. Somebody's made a guide on it. Somebody out there already, the idea of content creation, and curating content for an online audience, like, well predates, stream platforms like Twitch, or, Mixer RIP, or Facebook Gaming, or YouTube. Like those things, people were putting that stuff out there on the internet because they wanted to. And then they figured out a way to monetize it. You can do that too. You can tap that resource, so I just think that start small and just watch your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And don't try to compare, like, I'm only getting X number of viewers and so is doing a stream that is of the same or lesser quality and they're getting twice as many viewers, because that's not going to be healthy, and I think a lot of us are guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I see some people streaming to 1,000 people, and it's the fucking lowest effort for stream. Their audio is jank, like they have no overlay. Like they've not put in any of the work to sort out these finer details that improve the craft of what they're doing, and yet they're still pulling in, maybe 10 times as many viewers.
Yeah.
The whys and the hows of, a lot of that can just be luck, could be networking.
I think it can also be looked at in a positive light, which is that, if the content you're making is good enough and enjoyable enough, then you can also still, because again, I know that I see a lot of people that say, well, I want to get better at streaming, but like I don't have this expensive PC, or I can't afford a better microphone. And it's like, Summit 1G used a fucking headset microphone for years. XQC, I'm pretty sure, has the same webcam I have, which is the same one I've had for years, right? Now, granted, yes, those are people who've been on the platform a very long time since it was original, and they obviously were able to grow when it was a much, much smaller place. But obviously, yes, there's definitely something to be said for great quality streams and having all the fancy, polish to it. I enjoy watching streamers that have put that work in to do these things. All the stuff that Eve's been doing recently with Lyra on board, like, she's gone so deep into the matrix with this shit. I don't understand it, and I never hope to understand it. But I appreciate watching people to do it. But I also think that there's still no, at the end of the day, this might sound harsh, but if you're boring and not interacting with your chat, spending thousands on all this gear is not going to suddenly get you viewers at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I think you can look at that in a good way as well, right?
And I think with a lot of these streamers, there's a lot that you can't tell just from like a small snapshot. Because like there's all this background work, and we all know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Aiden asked in
Depends.
chat, how do we think of the idea that everybody can stream, but not everybody can stream to an audience?
I think that's a truism.
Yeah.
Everyone can be an artist, and everyone can be a musician, but not everyone's going to be able to do it, for an audience. And that's just truth. And that doesn't mean that you either can or can't. It's not a binary. It is a muscle. You can flex it, you can improve upon it, you can learn, to perform for an audience. But it's like, I do think that everyone has the raw building blocks and the potential. It's just a question of whether you want to put, if it's something that doesn't come naturally, because let's be honest, some people we know, everyone knows someone who is incredibly gifted and talented. be it maybe they're a gifted orator, maybe they're a gifted painter, maybe they're a gifted musician. They can, people who it's like, oh, not only do they play bass, guitar, and drums, but they also play this other thing too. They could sit, oh, I dabble in piano. People who are multilingual, who can, flip easily between languages. Like, for some people, things will be natural, and for them, that education and growth will be pretty straightforward. Then for some of us, we really want it, but we don't know how to get there. And that's a struggle, because it's like sometimes you just don't have the teacher, to show you. You don't have good examples around you. You don't, have a support system there for you, and it will be harder. I do think, though, that streaming is not going to be for everybody. And I think that I think that probably the most critical thing about live streaming or any sort of performative art, gymnastics, music, you name it, whatever it is, you have to put yourself in the position of the viewer. You have to think about the audience. You have to step outside yourself and consider what it is to sit in the crowd. And part of that starts with you looking at your own content. And again, that's what I mean by being critical in an objective sense about what do you want to see and what do you think others want to see. And even and if you don't know, run a poll. Like I've recently had some success, like doing questionnaires, making a Google form, making it as simple and streamlined as possible, but really trying to find out what do people want to see on stream, rather than just asking chat openly, hey, what do you guys want to see next? Because like you get useful information, but it's not as actionable sometimes as like doing a survey where I'm having people like rate games either on a 1 to 5 scale, like what are they most interested in, least interested to see, and that kind of stuff has been illuminating. So data, yeah, collect data. I mean, and it doesn't have to be collecting data from other people. You can just collect data on yourself. But yeah, I think just, and we've said on the podcast before, be true to yourself. Don't conjure a personality that isn't genuine. Unless you have the energy and willpower to do it. Because I mean, some people, stand-up comedians or politicians or celebrities or actors, like there are plenty of people who have a contrived personality. It is not, they're 110% extra, and some of that is because they're putting on a show. But that also takes a lot of work and effort, and takes a lot of strength of character and also strength of resources to be able to sustain that. If that's not something you can realistically do, you're setting yourself up for failure by trying to, conjure this identity that isn't you, or at least isn't partially you.
Just real quick, I wanted to kind of respond, because I know we talked about it before going live, but Knight was asking our thoughts on the day off Twitch on September 1st. So to just explain a little bit about that, we've talked the last couple of weeks about the situation going on with hate raids and stuff on Twitch right now. And really, it's a big problem. There's a lot of, malicious bot attacks going around. See, I had a bot attack. I wouldn't call it a hate raid, but it was just vaguely threatening, where bots just started spamming, "We never forgive, we never forget," which was a little, like, I don't know what I did to, but somebody's onto me, clearly. I know Eve sadly's, been the victim or the target of some of these raids. Luckily, Eve's a
4
badass.
of them so far since we talked about it last time.
It's obviously a big problem. I can't personally, because I've not been a target of it, and I'm not qualified to, really, as a person, I can see that this is shit and it's horrible, and I fully empathize with people that are feeling unsafe on the platform. That's horrible, and it needs to be dealt with. And I know that Twitter's all over the place with hot takes and just, it's shitty. It's really, really shitty. And as of now, all Twitch has been able to say is, we're working on it. And people are getting frustrated because they're not giving a solution yet, and they keep saying, "Oh, we're working on it, we're working on it." But right now, people are still having to deal with these attacks. So the day off Twitch is a movement that Grog only just made me aware of. I don't know if you want to explain the idea behind it.
So, basically, it is a sit-in, effectively, rather than stream that particular day. People are trying to use social media to organize various streamers to simply not stream that day, so as to hit Twitch in its pocket, from a revenue perspective. And if enough people take the day off, that they're hoping that by accompanying it, by having that action accompany the message that Twitch do better was a hashtag that is related to this, a day off Twitch. The two are intrinsically related. Twitch do better is really a call to arms from people who themselves have maybe not been affected, but are trying to ally and support those minority voices and those vulnerable voices within the community that have been the target of hate raids. And sometimes that advert, that hashtag, has allowed people to be more targeted. I know that Eve was the subject. Eve could speak to this. She was the subject of various hate raids, as she said. It's been 4 so far, but one of them came right when you had that hashtag as part of your stream title.
Nope.
No, it wasn't.
Nope. They used it in the bot attack. Every single message
they used it. That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
they used it in the chat.
They came through the LGBTQ tag.
There you go.
I know that because it went from like 30% of people who found my stream through tags to 70 overnight. So it's like, yeah, okay, that's where you came from.
But really, it's just this thing on September 1st is really I have mixed feelings on it. And I don't mean mixed feelings as though I disapprove, because I think, if people want to try this as a tactic and a means to send a message, then fucking go for it. Like, like peaceful protest and protests in general has a proven track record of grabbing the attention of those in power or running a organization and making them have to address it. I think my concern is right now my worry is it for a good cause? Yes, unquestionably. Does Twitch need to provide more of a concrete response in terms of how they're going to address hate raids in the future? Yes. My concern, though, is that the September 1st thing is pretty toothless, because there's no list of demands. There's nothing attached to it. It is just a hashtag and the promise that people will take the day off.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Eve.
From my perspective, I don't I can understand why people would want to, but in my mind, it almost feels like it would be giving the people who are doing these raids a win.
What they want.
Because now all these people are no longer on there. Just like, I know a lot of people are not using the tags anymore, and it's fine. If you know that you can't handle that, don't put yourself through that. But I feel like it's getting bullied off of expressing myself, and I spent like 30 fucking years in the closet just about, and I'm not going to go back and start pretending that I'm someone I'm not. So if they want to come in, it's easy to press a button and make some ad revenue off of them. Like the people who came through with the last hate raid, they got 2 messages through, and I was like,
yeah, you were ready for it.
Yeah.
I think Eve's response is something that I would like to stand behind myself, and suggest that I firmly am with her in looking at this situation and this September 1st thing, because it makes me think back to more than a year ago, in the wake of George Floyd's death and Black Lives Matter protests during that summer that happened just after his death, that there was a similar call to action on Twitter for both Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Gaming to have what was called Blackout Tuesday, as a protestation that companies were not doing enough to speak out against hate crime and racial discrimination. And at the time, the concern was that pretty much any organized body or system has issues with racial discrimination. Every workplace pretty much does. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. Every business organization, struggles with sexual discrimination as well as racial discrimination and profiling. And this Blackout Tuesday thing was an idea that, like, take a stand, let the screens go dark, right? And at the time, that thing I saw in part was it was a mixture of different bodies organizing behind this plan, but there was a strong number of prominent Black voices and persons of color who were saying, why would we go offline? We are just silencing ourselves in that regard. We should be online. More people should be online. We should be changing the narrative and talking about what we want to see. Like, this is the opportunity to do something actionable, like stepping out as a boycott. Boycotts, yes, can work. They can serve a purpose, but in the context of stepping out from a social media platform where you can spread a message, you can share imagery, you can amplify your voice, that's almost the antithesis of what we should be doing. And so it got me thinking, this whole September 1st thing got me thinking about Blackout Tuesday. Now, I'm not someone who is been a target of hate raids. I'm not someone who's been, I'm not their demographic for people to target. My solution on Blackout Tuesday was I went ahead with Blackout Tuesday. I just ran a 24-hour stream where I wasn't in it. My chair was empty. I had a cardboard sign that had lists to orgs where you could donate or find out information about how to support Black Lives Matter. And I broadcast 24 hours of TED Talks featuring persons of color and public recordings of Angela Davis, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Maya Angelou, etc. And I amplified their voices for 24 hours because that's all I could do as an ally, right? Because I'm not qualified to speak on it. I think on September 1st, I'm still going to stream and I'm going to talk about it, just like as we're talking about it here, because that's all I can do. Because I do think that Eve's right. I think that it's not the same as a company who is, wrong, like the target of some wrongdoing, and then you just boycott the product. Like, Nabisco does, Nabisco's doing fucked up stuff right now, boycott Nabisco. But we're not talking about that. Like, we're talking about, we want Twitch to be more aggressive in finding a way to combat these bot attacks and these spam accounts. They say they're working on it and listening. And here's the thing, is that it comes down to faith in the company. The people who are most concerned don't have faith in Twitch. I'm not saying I have more or less faith in Twitch. I do think that it is in their interest to fix this, and I do genuinely think that they're listening and looking into it. I just don't think that they are going to be very transparent about what they're putting in place for a couple reasons. Bungie, when they were talking about anti-cheat, their whole stance was like, and I promise this will relate, Bungie was like, well, we can't go into specifics because if we do, then if we say what we're monitoring or what we're doing X, Y, and Z, that could provide some information to the people who are going to try and circumvent those methods. So if we don't elaborate the methods, maybe it will work this time. I think Twitch saying we're listening and we're working on it, I do think they're listening and working on it. Now, I guess it's going to be down to the individual to decide whether they actually think, believe the veracity of Twitch's statement. And I think the problem is right now there's just not faith in the platform. Yeah. The people who've been hurt by this, are rightly hurt, and they've lost faith, and they just don't think that Twitch is being serious about it. Mm-hmm. I just don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I can't say whether they are or they aren't.
And unfortunately, I feel like it comes down to a situation like there's never going to be an unpickable lock. So there's always going to be a way for people to come around these.
Sure.
And so it comes down to a bigger issue of not so much what can the individual platform do but what can people do to try and shift the public perception and everything? Because at the end of the day, if like there was a Harvey Milk speech back in like 70 something when he was running. It's like, come out to everybody you know, let people know who you are, what you are, like break down the myths, break down the walls, and that's the only way you can start enacting change. Because until change is enacted, it doesn't fucking matter. These
Yeah.
people will exist, and it's just a matter of like minimizing the people. People can change. Like I fully believe that a bigot can change, but it's just a matter of changing enough of them and then making it the very silent minority again,
Yeah.
instead of this overwhelmingly loud minority that's growing because people think it's okay to behave like this, and
Well,
you know.
particularly, through the guise of internet anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons that people are so angry with Twitch, and myself included, is that historically Twitch are just so slow to react to things. We've seen it a million times where Twitch will just be hugely unprepared until they have to be. The best example is still DMCA. YouTube got copyright and shit sorted out 10 years ago. Twitch knew the DMCA day was coming, and when it hit, they were completely unprepared. And it took them, I mean, still, they're not in a position where everything is working great. And you could say the same with bots. Bots have been a reality on Twitch for like as long as I've been on the platform. There's been follow bots, there's been view bots, there's all kinds of these. And the reality is that now people have decided to use them in such a hateful way on a big scale. Twitch could have had some kind of solution to deal with these bots years ago, but there wasn't that pressure on them to do it, so they just don't do it. And I think that's for being what people would class as like new media, and being this like company that's at the forefront of live streaming, which is like this new technology. And I mean, in terms of the internet, it's a pretty new thing, live streaming. They are so slow to react to these things, and when they need to be quick to fix these issues. And again, as Grog said, I believe that they are working on it. I don't doubt that. I'm sure that there's a lot of great people that work at Twitch that want to get this sorted as much as everyone else. My issue is that they should have seen this coming a long time ago, and they should have been more prepared. Exactly like DMCA, exactly like all these other issues that they've had.
I think one thing that makes these topics difficult to talk about is sometimes, even when you're trying to speak about it with just pure objectivity, it's really easy to like have stuff taken out of context. So like I was thinking in my head before about saying, yeah, Twitch is a reactive, not proactive company. And in my head, I was going to say, but what companies aren't? What big organization isn't reactive? I worked for a municipal, I worked for the city of Philadelphia for close to 6 years. And the amount of bureaucracy and the way that things were set up was so flawed and fractured that we could only be reactive. We could not be proactive. Even though the people at the core, the people at public facing level desperately wanted to implement change, there were so many impediments to do so. And it's difficult because I want to say something like, yeah, like every org is like that. I'm not, but my concern is that in these conversations, sometimes if that is a soundbite on Twitch, or if that's like a soundbite on Twitter, then it becomes like you're excusing the behavior. It's like, no. No one's excusing the behavior. I'm not excusing the behavior. I'm just saying rationally, it makes sense why they're reactive and not proactive. Because most organizations of this scale are not built to manage like crises that come up overnight. They're just not. They're built for the long term. They're built to have momentum behind them. They have a 1-year plan. They have a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. Like they're moving towards these outcomes that they've already set out for themselves. I do think that there's an interesting conversation that's happening in chat right now between Aiden and Knight, and talking about ad revenue and just also like these kinds of boycotts, wherein like 90 like basically most of the ad revenue on the platform is going to be coming from big streamers. They're going to be coming from less than 1% of the total streaming population is going to make up for 99% of the ad revenue and 99% of the proceeds that happen on the platform. Most of those people are not taking the day off because some might. I mean, who knows? Maybe some might. Some might not. Some might not do it for the reason that they are completely and willfully ignorant. Like they don't even know that it's happening. I didn't even know that, this campaign, this micro campaign was happening until really like last 6 days.
I didn't know about it
so they may not even know. What's that?
I didn't know about it till today.
Yeah, they might not even know. Some people might just be indifferent. Not that they're pro hate raid, but that they just, it's their job. They do this full time. They're going to keep making the money that they're already making. If they're in the 0.5% of Twitch that is making 99% of the profit, they may just want to keep working.
It's also worth noting that some of the big streamers are, have contracts to fill and they have to hit a certain number of hours a week or whatever. So there might be situations where they just have to,
Yeah. And so all of those factors aside, I don't think it is as simple as like, if you, I guess my worry, and the reason why I mentioned like why it's hard to talk about this stuff is my worry is that some of these people will stream and they're going to get rake through the coals, because they streamed on that day without people taking into account insightful, views like Eve's, like, by coming off the platform, you are giving more voice to the people who would want you off the platform. You're giving them the power back. I think the most critical thing that could happen on days like today is not to do a boycott where you're giving up a platform with a megaphone and a voice and a reach where you can change hearts and minds. But I think the most critical thing you could do would be to have that 0.5% of the platform band together and then on that day still stream but talk about this shit. Do you know what I mean? Relentlessly talk about it. I mean, can you imagine if like, XQC or Asmongold or any of these big people, if they talked about the hate raids and spent the majority of their stream talking about it, or they just streamed less that day, like that in of itself would be like them demonstrating to their communities why this is wrong, them having an honest exchange with their chat and or with each other, having a Discord conversation. Imagine if you got like 5 of the biggest streamers all together in a voice chat like this and discussing it. Twitch would fucking take notice, and the dialogue would continue about this. But I don't think that this is going to affect, the bottom line for Twitch at all.
No.
It is a tooth. My worry is that in saying this is a toothless act is that people will read that as I'm saying that there's no point and that like hate, like we shouldn't do anything again. That's not it. It's a hashtag and you're stepping off the platform, but most people are still going to be on the platform. Mm-hmm. Viewers won't know. If streamers don't know that people are trying to organize this kind of thing, like we function in these little micro bubbles, these little echo chambers. Like Facebook is, as Eve said, is basically just an opportunity to argue with people in their own echo chamber. Because
I yell at boomers on metal pages.
People who are most affected by this, who are they talking to on these social media websites? Largely other people who are also affected by it. So you have vulnerable individuals who are being targeted by hate raids and who are the focus of these attacks and this disruption unjustly, and they're empathizing with each other and they're coalescing with one another to do something about it. But if they all go offline that day, to what end? Like I just, that's my worry. You need you need the big guns, the big names to come out and actually say and do something about it. And I think at the least you can do is, if you are going to stream that day, have a conversation with your chat. Talk about, what can we do as a community? If you know what a great discussion would be for anybody streaming that day, have a discussion with your chat. Chat. If you're a viewer and you are in a stream and you see a hate raid happen, what can you do? Like, what can you do as a viewer? Most people are going to say, well, I can't really do anything. Maybe it'll just go into emote only mode. But I mean, it's like, just have those conversations. Figure out, is there something you can do as a viewer in these chats? Can you, what you can do, if passively, if you're a viewer and you really want to help, you could take these bot accounts, you could report them. Banning them and blocking them isn't the same as reporting them. So they won't get investigated the same way. Like, I've blocked so many bot accounts recently.
Actually, with Twitch, they came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago at kind of the start of all this, saying like, oh, well, we've got everything initiated now where if you don't report the spam accounts, only report the ones if you know that they came in originating it, like they came in bragging about it. Report those accounts, but don't mass report the other ones, because then it gets lost within the ones like they can't track those.
Obviously the one that's a bot, but yeah, if it's the human coming in being like, yeah, well, because you want to get the ringleader, you want to get the people who are actually orchestrating these things. But yeah, I mean, like, there are things that we can do. I just worry that campaigns like this are just not well thought out.
I agree that I think, like, it's a nice idea, but there is obviously always two sides to it. As Eve mentioned, the idea, the whole point of these people hate rating is to effectively bully people off the platform. So by everyone taking a day off, I understand the idea is to try and hurt Twitch. I don't think it's gonna hurt Twitch, because there's no universe where everybody takes the day off. There's just no way that works, unfortunately. And yeah, it's difficult, because I don't want to just ignore that and not acknowledge the movement, because I appreciate that the intent behind it is good, to pressure Twitch to do something to protect their people. But I just think that I don't think it'll hurt Twitch's bottom line.
Yeah.
I feel like LGBTQ people have been, bullied into being silent for too long, and it's just, we're in the information age. I don't think there's any reason to try and stay silent anymore. A lot of these movements through the decades have been about being loud, being as open as you can be, and like that comes with some risks, that comes with some issues, but in the long run, if people don't do it now, it just gets worse for people later.
Yeah. And as you said, it's these tactics will work. And the haters out there are going to find ways to flip the script and make it about something else. Think about like the loud black woman stereotype. Like these things. I mean, someone like Angela Davis, protesting and creating social change. People have taken outrage over injustice and somehow turned that into the people who are being victimized, the people who are being hurt, are crying out for help and crying out for change and crying out for, action. And yet that can be flipped around and say, like, you're just loud, you're aggressive, you only know how to, speak through yelling. Like, those things can be flipped and manipulated. The problem is that the people who are doing the manipulation, the people that are issuing these hate raids, like, it's a bit like the whole, banning cheaters in Warzone without an anti-cheat. Like, they're just going to come back. Like, the solution isn't going to just be to ban bots after bots after bots. Like, it's so, hate on the internet is synonymous. The internet is synonymous with many things, but hate is one of them. And it's because of that anonymity. And I think unless there is a technical limitation that is implemented, which, let's be honest, if there is a physical or technical means that Twitch can prevent these kinds of maybe they're creating an algorithm. Maybe there's like a soft AI that can see if there's like too much spam, of like a particular message entering a chat at a given time. It can just be auto purged. Like whatever that technological intervention is, Twitch is going to be tight-lipped about it. They're not going to say explicitly how it's going to work other than a glossy bullet point. As Joris said in chat, hate on the internet is an unlimited resource. These people have gone out of their way to make it their goal to harass other people who they don't know and who aren't affecting them.
That's why I fully feel it's not a Twitch issue, it's a social issue.
Yeah.
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 And like
And
if
that-
you can like think of all the young people that are on Twitch, like if they can see people that they know who are out, I feel like it can initiate change later on. Because you never know who those people might grow up to be, and just having allies out there growing up in the world. Because I know Gen Z is significantly better than millennials already, just with what I see online with like acceptance. So yeah, little by little.
Yeah, I mean that is the crux of like a systemic illness like this, a systemic problem. It is so deeply rooted in our society that we can only change it at a societal level. And I know I said before, like Twitch should have done something sooner because the writing was on the wall for a while. I'm not seeking to like give them an out, and say that it's okay that they haven't done anything, that they only react reactively instead of proactively. But I mean, it's just not surprising, and I think it's the plight of any large organization. So I don't know. I think the September 1st thing is interesting, and that's about it. But I'm with Eve. I think we have to do something.
I think the best thing that we can do is amplify the voices of the people that are being affected by this. There are so many people out there on Twitter talking about this issue and trying to raise more attention that this is a problem and needs to be sorted. Like those tweets, retweet it, just lend your voice to those people that are out there talking about this, because the more people that see it, the hopefully the quicker we can get that issue resolved and protect the people that are being targeted. And I think that's the best thing we can do is be kind to one another and just amplify those voices, because I know there's a bunch of people I've seen on Twitter that are really very outspoken about this whole issue, and being able to see people who have been targeted and give their thoughts on how this can be resolved and how the situation can be improved. We need to make sure more people see it. I think that's the big thing. And again, I like the idea behind the 1st of September, boycott. I think the intention is good. We just have to hope that
it's misguided. It's good, but it's not well organized.
The intention is good. And I also by the same hand, I don't think there's a better solution. I'm not saying, instead of that we should do this, because I don't think there's anything else that can be done. By a group of people to enact change. I'm not saying that the boycott is flawed, right? I don't know the solution. I don't know.
I think it's only flawed in the sense that in regards to a traditional boycott where you refuse to entertain a business and its services or buy goods from that business, boycotts almost always accompany an ad campaign. They accompany a vocal campaign expressing why. It's not just don't shop at such and such. It's then there's people on the ground and out there explaining and advocating why the boycott's happening. But in this case, social media and outreach is the platform. This is the product, right? But we control the product, right? We don't control pre-roll ads. We don't control that kind of stuff. But like we control what happens on our stream. As long as it's within TOS, like we could carry out this podcast, as long as we want. and we're within our right to do so. And anyone watching, we can help, we can talk to, and we can use this platform. That's why I think this is fundamentally different. I don't think this is like protesting, Hobby Lobby because they, say and do all sorts of hateful shit towards, LGBTQ persons. It's not the same. I because it just isn't. It's because this is a platform for speech and thoughts to get out there. So I think stepping away in this case is probably a mistake, because this boycott then isn't accompanied by anything but people then advertising back into their same echo chambers. If the people that do step away on September 1st go back onto Twitter and then continue to rail about like why Twitch isn't doing enough, they're doing it to their followers on Twitch or Twitter. Sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the people who are seeing those posts are people, probably 80% or more are people that are already following them. You're just preaching back to the choir. That in of itself is not actionable. It makes you feel good. It feels validating because people will tell you, yeah, you get people rallying behind you. But in this case, no, I think it would be the bad call. But I think it would be a bad call to then do the stream and not say anything.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to set a date and make it meaningful, then set the date and then do something on that date related to
I'm gonna play the
what you're
gayest
trying to
game I
address.
could possibly find on September 1st. I'm streaming Boyfriend Dungeon.
Do it. Well, I think that's about a good time to wrap up there. This podcast went way longer than I was expecting, but I think it was good. Grog, where can everyone find you, and what have you got coming up this week?
Folks can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/grogmode. I stream 5 days a week, Monday through Thursday. It's just me at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and I stream sort of strategy puzzle games, Apex Legends, and I'm currently playing Frostpunk, which is a very troublesome, nihilistic steampunk hellscape that's frozen.
Did I die
ice.
again yet?
No.
Perfect.
And if you want to be included in that game, swing by. Oh, no, I didn't. So Eve did perish in the game. We named a character after her, and they were just like I think you were just like a general. There's only 3 classes of people. There's workers, there's engineers who are slightly more trained at something, and then there's kids, right? Because you're all survivors in this dystopia. But obviously, people need to work someplace to get resources like coal, or wood, so that like you can continue to survive in these horrible conditions. Eve died. Well, Eve didn't initially die. Well, Eve died on the job, and as did another character. But
unimportant.
But when Eve came back, there was a new 4th class that I could offer her if she wanted to name herself after, because we had gotten so deep into the game that people were now working themselves to the point of injury and were amputees. So we have care houses where these amputees might live. And Eve said, I would like to be an amputee. I don't want to be a child or a worker or a engineer. I'd like to be an amputee. I would like my name to be Amputive. So she has a character simply named Ampute apostrophe Eve. So we have Amputive, and you're doing fine. You're in the care house.
Good, perfect.
You don't have to work. You're just tended for. We are going to sign a prosthetics law, which hopefully, if you want to get back to work, you can.
I can be like Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah. Anyway, Frostpunk is a really fun, cool, weird game. You should definitely check it out. But yeah, you can find me on other social platforms at gamer_grog, things like TikTok, Twitter, etc. So, Eve, how about you? What are you doing?
Yeah, you can find me Metabot Eve, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube Shorts. Not really on my normal YouTube page. I haven't uploaded there in a while. But yeah, I'm gonna be probably playing some more Dark Souls tomorrow. And then Tuesday, Psychonauts 2 comes out, so I might be streaming that for the next 2 days. I'm very, very excited for it. Dog. You can also find me on Twitch if you go through the LGBTQ tag. Yeah. Condi. How about you?
Yeah, you find me everywhere, CondyFly. Definitely gonna be looking at getting a custom bumper sticker for my car, and like legit, I might do a video where I just pay for promotion on different websites to see what happens. And I'm fully expecting to just lose all my money doing that, but I think it would be interesting. So probably gonna do that. But as far as stream goes, I'm gonna be off the next couple days, I think, because of various real life obligations of things I have to go do.
Ugh,
I know, right?
gross.
But hopefully should be back Wednesday. And I don't know what we're gonna do. I feel like mixing it up this week and doing something different. So we'll maybe experiment with some things. But yeah, meantime, still daily TikToks, daily YouTube clips. You know, we're trying to keep on top of all that. More importantly, the podcast. This has been a nice juicy one today, almost 2 hours. If you think that this was valuable and maybe you learned something or maybe something was useful to you, we have a sizable back catalog of episodes now, which you can find on Spotify or Google Podcasts or maybe even Apple Podcasts. I actually don't know, but it might be there.
Let's say yes.
Into. Yeah, it's worth trying. And we also have a YouTube channel where all these videos get posted as well. And if you happen to be on any of those mentioned platforms, we actually stream this live on Twitch, mainly because it's just a nice, easy way for us to record it, but also we get to actually take questions and interactions from chat, which helps us quite a bit, because really we had next to no plan today, and we've somehow managed to do 2 hours of content. So that's because of you guys. So thank you.
They don't need to know that.
I feel like it's best to be open.
I've got a suggestion for your video idea.
Yeah, please.
So you know those shirts, those cringy old boomer shirts that are like, I'd rather be fishing.
Yes.
So you need to have that. And it's like, I'd rather be streaming on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CondyFly. And you need to get it made before you start your IRL obligations so you can wear that everywhere. So like not only do people know that you don't want to be there, but also it's advertisement.
It's like those ones you see on Facebook that are clearly generated by a bot, and it's like, the most badass people are born in September.
Yeah.
Because like they've data mined that my birthday's in September, and they're like, okay, let's AI generate a shirt. That's a fucking great idea, Eve. We should collaborate on some merch that says that.
Yes, perfect.
Let's do it. But yeah, check out the podcast and all the other platforms. We are going to go and raid somebody, so please do stick around for that. Thank you very much. We appreciate your feedback as always. We'll see you next week. Till then, later.
Bye.